Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aligning with Purpose, a podcast where we explore themes of finding your true purpose, from quitting corporate, moving cities, practicing holistic health, and more. Join me as we discover our purposes together. My name is Julie Oshinaga, and I'm so happy you're here. I want to start off by saying Happy New Year. I can't believe we are already in 2026. If you're listening to this in real time, this episode comes out on January 1st of 2026. So if I'm going to be honest with you, this is recorded in 2025. So I'm coming from the past here to talk about this topic and this episode. But happy 2026. I can't believe 2025 went by so quickly and we are already in a new year. Last year was such an incredible, challenging, and it had every single emotion that I could possibly imagine. And if you haven't checked out the last episode, I highly encourage you to check that episode out first. I talk about my 2025 reflections, 2026 New Year's resolutions, and this episode is going to be all about abundance. My word for 2026 is abundance. I think it is so important for us to be living in abundance. When we have an abundant mindset, we have so many more blessings coming our way. So I want to talk about that today. On top of that, we'll talk about vision boarding for 2026, what I envision for this year, and hopefully this also inspires you to do a little bit of a vision board for your year ahead. I think by not planning out, but by envisioning what your year could look like or the near future, you're setting yourself up for success because you're putting in the subconscious reminders of what you want your year to look like. So let's talk about all these things together and get right into it. But before we get started, I do want to go back to our Beauty and Humanity segment like always. For this week's Beauty and Humanity segment, I want to talk about something super small again. Every single week, I have an elderly couple that comes into the restaurant. They are our regulars. I was actually thinking back on how many times a month I see them. And I think I see them at least 4 times. So if it's 4 times a month, then that's on average once a week. And this couple, I started seeing them maybe a few months ago. They're so sweet, lovely. At first, we were strangers, obviously. So we didn't talk too much, but the more visits they had, we started to build rapport and they've become a really friendly face. I really enjoy seeing them every single time they're in the restaurant. So even if I'm not serving them that night, I'll always catch them in the beginning of the shift or at the end of the shift and catch them to say hello or goodbye. That moment always makes me feel so happy and see that they're doing well, that we get to be their spot for their date night every week. And it inspires me to do that with my partner, my husband in the future, to do date nights like that and to be present with each other. So that was a small moment that I wanted to share. These moments don't have to be huge. They can be very small. And I think that is the point, to make sure that we can see the beauty in humanity. So again, Happy New Year. I can't believe we are in 2026. It's just so crazy that we are in another year. Every single year goes by quicker and quicker. And the one thing I'll say is, because I do live in New York City, I experience seasons for the first time now. So I had a clear idea of when time was moving. When in LA, it just felt like a continuous summer or a colder summer. So I kind of lost concept of what time looked like. But in New York, it's very clear and it almost feels like a rigid schedule. So although a year went by slowly, it also went by quickly at the same time, and vice versa. But anyways, Happy New Year. A new year is our opportunity to really make changes for ourselves and to bring renewed energy and do the most that we can to positively impact our life. So today I want to talk about abundance, and the theme of this year for myself is going to be living in abundance. I think this is a concept that I've implemented in my life, but I could use more of this, right? When we live in abundance, we have unlimited potential, we have unlimited opportunities, and we have limitless goals and beliefs in what you can achieve. It all comes down to your mindset at the end of the day. So if you are in an abundant mindset, you're going to believe these things for you. And then you're opening up energetic pathways for you to accept or be a vessel to accept all these abundant things in your life. Whereas if you have a negative mindset, you're limiting yourself because you have limiting beliefs, because you don't believe that there's more potential or more opportunity out there. You're naturally going to be blocking yourself from the great things that could be coming your way. So mindset is really important. Reframing your mind to think abundantly is extremely important. When we have scarcity mindset and we're coming from lack, we think we have finite resources. We think we are in competition with others. And like I said, we have limiting beliefs. I'm not qualified. What if I'm not ready? What will they think of me? All those things are examples of limiting beliefs. Don't get me wrong, I also have limiting beliefs too. I think it's naturally human to have limiting beliefs and have bouts of time where we don't fully believe in ourselves to the fullest potential. But in those moments, it's really important to catch ourselves and to remember that our brain is the thing that is causing or shaping our reality. Because your brain is also a muscle, right? So if you were to train your brain to reframe those thoughts, you can start to limit those limiting beliefs and start living in abundance. Your mind is extremely powerful, so don't let it have a hold over you. So make sure you learn to work with it, but also know that you are the one that should be in the driver's seat, not your mind. Your heart, what you desire, your soul, let that be in the driver's seat. Don't let your irrational fears or your scarcity mindset, the things that your mind isn't helping you on, take over, because it's truly important for you to take control of your life in the way that you see. So I'm going to give 2 examples on why your mindset is so powerful. And so the first one is telling yourself you're not ready to start your own business because you need more skills in X, Y, and Z. When you make excuses, you will never start, because excuses are things that you do so you prolong you starting the actual thing. Even this podcast, for example, I wanted to start this years ago. I finally did it last year in 2025, and there were so many months and quarters where I didn't start because I had to practice my public speaking more, or I had to get the right equipment. I had to do all these things before I started, when the biggest factor in me not starting was just my mind. If I had the courage and if I didn't have the limiting beliefs, I probably would have started this many years ago. And that to me really spoke to me, that the only person that was in my own way truly was always myself. When you give yourself excuses, you allow yourself to stay in comfort. And that's easier because you're not pushing past discomfort. I know that was a theme that I talked a lot in the last episode. So reference that episode if you are curious about the topic of pushing past your discomfort. Most successful people start when they're not ready. They make action. They don't wait for the perfect opportunity. They don't wait to be told. They don't wait for things to just pop up because they're not going to. They make the action, they have an idea, and they act on it. Of course, it's a fine balance, right? Sometimes you want to think things through and make sure that you're doing it strategically. There's all of that. But talking about not letting your mind affect you, it's so important to just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. All you need to do is start so you can start challenging the way your mind has been operating previously, and then the skills will come. You will start to gain the skills to speak better. You'll get the right equipment as you continue to save up money for it. Whatever thing that you feel like you need before you start, you can do that after you start too. Of course, there's going to be different fields where you need a certain skill set. Like, let's say you want to be a doctor or a lawyer. Those are going to obviously come with specific schooling and accreditation, testing, all of that. But when we're talking about a general sense of you wanting to start your own business or a fitness routine or a podcast or whatever example that you are not working on because you are scared, just know that you have the ability to change that today. And this year, because we're living in abundance, we are going to go for those things because we can do it. So start to distinguish. Is it really the skills that you're lacking, or is it scarcity mindset that's preventing you from starting the thing that you want to start? The second example I'm going to give is telling yourself you're not good enough for an opportunity to go up for a job because there are so many other qualified candidates. While it might be true that there are so many other qualified candidates, that doesn't take away from your skills and what you bring to the table, ever. There are so many instances where companies and bosses tell you who you are, and they'll tell you that you aren't good enough, you're too young for the job, you don't have enough years under your belt, you're too outspoken, whatever they want to categorize you as or whatever label that they want to put on you. Don't ever let any company or anyone tell you what you're capable of handling or what you bring to the table. As someone who left corporate, I had to really dismantle and take apart all the things that made me feel like I was coming from such a lack. There were so many months and years where I second guessed myself. And I second guessed, could I even obtain becoming an executive, because it feels like I am made to feel small here. Or there's so much talking that happens, and you can already tell when a company or your bosses have labeled you as something that you're not. So you feel like you're stuck in this box that they created for you. So it's so hard for you to break out of. And for a long time, I believed in the labels that they put on me. When I started my first job, there was a sense of me wanting to do a good job, but it was also a little bit harder for me to speak up because being the youngest and being the newest person on the team, it was so hard for me to know when to speak up because I didn't want to take up too much room. But I realized that that also was caused by the subconscious things or even the blatant things that were happening. The way one of my bosses would talk to me, it felt like it was so condescending all the time. I felt like I was talked to like I was a little girl, and that was unsettling and not okay. So there were so many times when I let those things take power away from me, when I knew that I had so much to offer. And sometimes it is about reclaiming your power and knowing that no one else can define who you are. Don't ever let a company or your boss or whoever it is take that away from you, because you have so much to offer to the world, especially when it comes to a job. Don't ever let anyone take that away from you. If you're getting no's because they think you are too young or too this, that, or whatever it is, then go somewhere else. You deserve so much better. Go somewhere else, make more opportunities for yourself or create those opportunities for yourself because you deserve better. The more you can grow in your self-worth and honor yourself and not let people define you and live by what they're defining you as, the more power you reclaim for yourself and the more good things you'll do for yourself because you're not putting yourself in the box. The next time you tell yourself you're not good enough for the opportunity to get a job because there are other qualified candidates, catch yourself. Maybe that company or many companies won't hire you because you don't have more years under your belt compared to the other person, but that does not take anything away from you. That means you need to create different opportunities for yourself, because in this world where there's so much mega corporations that tell you what you need to be and what you're not enough of, that needs to all stop. You create your destiny, and let's make sure 2026 is the year that you call in abundance, and no one can take that away from you. I'm also going to give 2 real life examples so you know that you have every right to feel all the abundance that you deserve to have. Example number 1 is Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga was dropped from her music label 3 months after she signed. I believe this was her first music label that she signed with, Def Jam, and they didn't believe in her. Her confidence was shaken, but she still had so much belief in herself. And that's the key. She had so much belief in herself that she decided to work independently until she was signed at Interscope as a writer. And after that, she went on to becoming a huge pop star. She also has a few movies under her belt, and she is a household name. Pretty much anyone you talk to will know who Lady Gaga is. I bring her up because if she had let a big company like Def Jam affect what she thought of herself, then she probably would have never made it. But her unwavering belief in herself is what got her to where she is today. And sometimes it takes believing in yourself 100% when no one else is going to believe in you to make it. For a lot of people that are successful, it takes them so long for them to make it. Sometimes it's quick, right? But there are so many days where you have to be the one that is in your corner being your biggest cheerleader and to never give up on yourself. Let Lady Gaga be that reminder for you. The second example that I want to give is the Wright brothers. The Wright brothers are famous for inventing the airplane. When they were ideating and trying to create the airplane, they faced so much ridicule and backlash and resistance. You know, I can see why the masses didn't believe what they were doing. Not because what I'm saying is like they shouldn't have been believed in, but when there's an idea so big, I know it's so hard for people to fathom that idea, that their own defense mechanism becomes making fun of or resisting their idea. I think that goes for a lot of humanity, right? There are times when you have an idea, they might scoff at it because they don't understand you, and that's how it goes. And you have to be the one to believe in your idea, because if no one else is going to do it, then who else is? If the Wright brothers gave up on their idea because they were ashamed by the public and what backlash they were receiving, we wouldn't even have airplanes today. Or maybe we would have, but maybe not this soon. It was because they stayed persistent, they kept trying, they believed in themselves that we have this method of transportation today. And now look who's laughing, right? They are the ones who stayed true to themselves, they believed in themselves, and they are benefiting so many people that need to use aircrafts to get from this country to the other to visit their family or for vacation. The point of these examples is to ultimately share that you are the one that is in control of your life, and it is up to you to believe in yourself. It is up to you to be in abundance mindset and to create abundance for yourself. And it does not matter what other people think, what they say behind your back, or whatever the external thing is, because you don't have control over that at the end of the day. It's important for you to stay focused and to focus on your life and where you want to go, and to know that there's so much support behind you, but you have to be the one to make that happen for you. And it starts with your mind. So let's together attract all of our positive opportunities this year. And when we attract those opportunities, we're going to thank the universe, and we're also going to thank ourselves for working on ourselves to be able to attract all those opportunities that we are given. With abundance in mind, let's vision board together. Here's the things that I want to see for my 2026. So this was a fun exercise that I got to do right before I filmed this podcast episode. In 2026, I will be moving apartments. I'm super excited for this new chapter of my life. I will share more about this in another unscripted podcast episode. But for my first part of my vision boarding, I am envisioning a bright, safe, comfortable, and stable home. For me, your home is a very sacred space, as it is for many people. But as I'm getting older, I'm learning the importance of having and creating a safe space in your home, because that's where you come back home to rest, to recover, and really be yourself. If your home doesn't reflect safety, comfort, or whatever you need from your home, then it's going to be hard to be grounded. So I am really hoping, manifesting, calling in abundance to have this in my next home, an apartment. The next thing that I am envisioning is having a fulfilling career that I'm working towards. I mentioned in the last podcast episode that I'll share more on this later, but I will be working towards doing something new with my career. And I don't want to prematurely share this, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But in my mind, it is really clear of how I want this chapter to look. And I'm very excited to start working on it in 2026. The next one is being surrounded by a deep, loving community and friends. And although I already have that, I don't think there's anything wrong with continuing to envision that for yourself. So you can call in good energy with the people in your life, or calling in more people that are aligned with who you are. So I'm very excited for what this next year brings. At the end of the day, I love people and I want to connect with people and find cool people to continue to build a connection with. I have 3 more on my virtual vision board. The third one is nourishing and fulfilling all my creative passions. I kind of started that this year with the podcast, and that was something that was on my vision board 2 years ago. So I'm proud of myself for finally starting it. It had clearly been in my subconscious. On top of the podcast, these might seem like smaller items, but I do really want to do dinner parties because that is something that brings me joy. Food, connecting people, cooking for people, and yeah, those things really bring me joy. I want to call people into my home and create that space. And I love hosting, so that will be one thing that I work towards next year. The next one is taking up space in a world that tries to make us small. And I don't think I need to explain this one further because of the podcast episode where we spent time talking about abundance. But as I am becoming more comfortable in my own skin, I also want to continue to hold myself accountable to not let myself become small when I'm scared to speak up. That will probably be a lifelong thing that I'm working on. But I wanted to include that in my vision board because I want to be an expansive vessel that will allow for many different opportunities to come into my life, as I want for everyone else. Last but not least, on my virtual vision board, I want abundance in health, love, finances, and pretty much anything where we can call abundance in. I know that this starts with me, and wording is important. Our mindset is important, like we've talked a lot about already on this podcast episode. But my mission for this year is to think about the word abundance and the intention behind it as I go through my days, and for it to be a guiding North Star as I navigate this next new year. The new year is such a great opportunity for us to try new things, to envision what our year could look like, and really dive deep into what our goals are. But I also want to emphasize that it's important for us to stay present and focus on the present because that builds our future. So as much as I love vision boarding, I'm going to be taking it one day at a time, being present with my life. I also want to find moments where I find peace. I'm present with family, community, and the people around me, and they also are getting the right amount of love that they deserve. So with that, I hope everyone has a really fulfilling and amazing year ahead. There is so much to look forward to. We're at the very beginning of it, so we can paint it exactly the way we want to, and it is truly up to us to make and create the reality that we want to live in. And 2026 is going to be our year. We're going to live in abundance, and we're going to achieve all the things we want to because we said so. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode, and I'm really looking forward to chatting in the next one. Before we go, I want to encourage everyone to subscribe, like, comment on the podcast. You can find it on Spotify, any of your favorite streaming platforms, or on YouTube if you prefer a video version. And if you're on social media, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at aligningwithpurpose.pod and at Julioshi, JULIYOSHI. I am extremely grateful that I get to share my story and my message with you every week, and I will catch you guys all at the next one, and Happy New Year.